Hey everybody, it's Meredith from Cedar Circle Farm, and this is our Nature Journal prompt number 7. And this prompt is all about describing. So we can use our words to describe, we can also use images to describe. So what you're going to do for this prompt is you will find an object in nature. This could be someplace in your sit spot, it could be a plant, an animal, something that you're unsure of what it is. I've chosen this plant here. And you're going to start describing it. Something that helps me to describe is that I try to remember that I'm not giving my opinion. I'm only using facts. So if I were to say that I like this plant, that's an opinion, but to describe it, to say this leaf is green, that's giving a fact. So it's called being objective, and we're going to be objective in our descriptions. For this, I'm going to challenge you to pretend like you are maybe a botanist discovering a plant for the first time, or a biologist studying another living thing, or maybe even you're pretending to see what it was like as one of the first people to walk around millions of years ago, to describe these plants or animals or objects that they've never seen before. So as you're filling out your nature journal this week, we're going to have 3 sentences that you are going to complete. The first sentence is, I notice. So you can write the answers, you can draw them and sketch them, but you're just going to make all of your observations. You can talk about color, you can talk about size, and I don't always have a ruler with me, so maybe I'll say it is as long, let's see, this is actually longer than my pointer finger. Maybe I can find something else to measure it. Let's see, these got these little flowers. I'm noticing that there's clusters of them. It's about as long as my thumbnail, or the top part of my thumb. So those are maybe some helpful ways to help us measure if you don't have a ruler around. But if you can measure in inches or eyebrows, that's also fine. So the first phrase is, I notice. The second phrase is, it reminds me. So this is when we can take your own personal experience and maybe start to dig a little bit deeper with some observations. Like this, kind of how it grows, the shape of it reminds me of a fern. I know the leaves are quite a bit different, but just the shape reminds me of a fern. These flowers remind me a little bit of like a blueberry flower, the way they hang down like that. It also kind of reminds me of my mom, but that's maybe being a little bit more subjective. So I notice, it reminds me, and then the last sentence is something that we've had a little bit of practice with during our sit spots, and that phrase is, I wonder. So we're going to come up with as many wonders as you can. I would say at least 3, but don't stop at 3 if you've got more. So I wonder who pollinates this plant. I wonder how long this specific plant has been growing here. I wonder how big it could get. These are all some examples of wonders, and I encourage you to keep going. Sometimes I find the more wonders I have, the more wonders they lead to. And you can write down those wonders. And this is an example of some of my sketches and my observations. So I estimated that some of the leaves were 3 inches wide. I noticed that most of the flower clusters were in groups of 3, but then I noticed some as much as 5. So I made sure to add in that specific detail with a lot of counting. I drew a couple of views. This is the view from the top. Can't really see any of the flowers from the top. This is the view from the side with those hanging little flowers. This is like a close-up zoom in of the flowers. And then I wrote down a bunch of descriptive detail. Something that's pretty exciting is that since you have discovered your plant or animal or object, you can name it. Even if you already know, maybe the name was told to you by an older sibling or you read it in a book, that's just a name that somebody came up with. So maybe you can be that somebody and come up with a new name. I might call this plant fairy lanterns because of those little flowers that grow. But you can come up with any name that you want. There's a bonus challenge on this nature journal prompt, and that is, after you've finished describing your object, have you used enough objective descriptions that you could hand your journal to somebody else and they can locate and identify the object that you've been describing. So just to recap, you are going to find your living thing out in nature, your natural object. You are going to finish the phrase, I notice, and describe as much as possible. It reminds me, and write or draw as much as possible. And I wonder, and you're going to come up with at least 3 wonders, but don't stop there. Then you're going to name your object, and then the bonus challenge is to hand your journal to somebody else to see if they can identify what you've described. So have fun out there, and we will see you next time, nature journalers. Bye.